Yes, hello guys. Hope everything is okay. I'm also fine. Yeah, I'm very safe. I'm very well protected. You can see I am masking myself. But because I'm alone, let me unmask myself and speak to you so that you can hear me clearly. And you can also do the same if at all you are alone. But if you're with other people, please make sure you keep yourself safely because your life is very, very expensive. COVID is real. I want us to discuss something very, very important. Something very important and interesting. I hope you will enjoy this lesson. We are going to discuss voices. We are going to talk about voices. Under voices, we are going to look at what we call active voice and passive voice. Active voice and passive voice. I will begin by posing a very simple question that what is an active voice sentence? Or when is a sentence said to be in the active voice? A sentence is said to be the active voice if the subject of the verb is the person or thing doing or performing the action. In other words, when the subject of that particular sentence is the doer or a performer of the action. Like I've said, we have two voices, active voice and passive voice. I want us to first talk about active voice. Then afterwards, we shall come and talk about passive voice. What are we going to say about active voice? We are going to look at what begins an active voice sentence. What comes after that very first thing and what comes last. In other words, we are talking about the order of the different words that make up a sentence in an active voice. Any sentence said to be in the active voice begins with a subject. And what is a subject of a sentence? A subject of a sentence is the doer or a performer of the action. And this subject comes first. Then it is followed by what we call a verb. And you know very well that verbs are doing what? So when we say a subject is followed by a verb, we simply mean that doer is followed by the action that he does. So our verb is the action. Then the last thing that will come in our active voice sentence is the object. That's why you can see those letters. We have S. Letter S represents subject. We have V that represents verb. And O represents object. So when you bring that order in a sentence, you come up with a sentence in the active voice. I am going to read for you one example. I'm going to read for you one sentence, that Anita sings a nice song every day. I repeat, Anita sings a nice song every day. In this sentence, we have a subject. And our subject as we said earlier, is the doer of the action, is the performer of the action. So Anita is a subject. Anita is the doer of the action. Anita is the performer of the action. Which action is that? The action of singing. So the word sing is a verb. It's an action word. Singing what? Singing a nice song. So a nice song is an object. In other words, an object is a receiver of the action. So this sentence is in the past, is in the active voice, I mean. Anita sings a nice song every day. Someone will say, he has talked about Anita sings a nice song, all those things, but he has left out every day. So every day is an adverb. It is an adverb of frequency. That tells us how frequent Anita sings a nice song. The sentence says Anita sings a nice song every day. So that is a sentence in the active voice. Still someone might ask, why? Yes, because the sentence begins with a doer, then followed by the action. Then the receiver that we said is an object comes last there. So that brings us to what we call passive voice. That brings us to what we call passive voice. And a sentence in the passive voice is one in which the subject does not do or cause the action, but is just affected by it. And my dear students, the order of the sentence in the passive voice changes. And the verb is made passive by changing it from the infinitive or present form to the past participle. And that will be preceded by an auxiliary or helping verb. What does that mean? It simply means any verb you place in the passive voice sentence must be presented in the past participle form. The past participle form. And you know what? The story is a little bit altered, is a little bit turned upside down. So a sentence in the passive voice begins with the object. And remember, this object is that last thing that comes in the active voice. Remember the order of the active voice? You begin with the subject, go to the action, that is a verb, then bring the object last. In our passive voice, we are going to begin with that very object. And what is our object there according to our sentence 1? Our object is a nice song. Is a nice song. So this nice song here will immediately be followed by a helping or auxiliary verb. And I take you back to what we said about the structure, the order of the words in the passive voice sentence. We said the order of the sentence changes and the verb is made passive by changing it from the infinitive or present form to the past participle. And that very verb must be preceded by an auxiliary or a helping verb. So we are going to say a nice song is. Why are we bringing the helping verb is? Why are we bringing an auxiliary verb is? Not any other. It is simply because the sentence given there is in present simple tense. So when we are changing any sentence in present simple tense from active to passive voice, we use we use any of the two helping verbs that I'm going to tell you. One is the helping verb is, and another one is the helping verb are. Why is? We use is when we are given a singular subject, like our subject there is singular. Singular means one. We have been given one subject, and that subject is Anita. We are using is because we have been given a sentence in present simple tense. And our subject is singular. So we are going to use is. So if we were given a plural subject, we would use the helping verb are before the past participle. We are dealing with the passive voice. So we come again and say a nice song is. Then we get the past participle of our main verb, sing. And the past participle of the main verb sing is sang. It is not sang with a. That sang with a is used in the past tense. But this sang we are talking about, this form of the verb sang we are talking about has letter U. That is the past participle. And that is what we use in the passive voice. Each time you want to put a verb in the passive voice sentence, make sure that it is changed to the past participle form. A nice song is sung by, we use by to bring the subject. By Anita every day. You end with an adverb of frequency every day. So the whole sentence is a nice song is sung by Anita every day. Not all the sentences in the passive voice will have by, say Anita, by Ivan, by Collins, or any other subject like that. It is only clear subjects that will be included in our passive voice sentences. And why do we say a subject is clear? Yeah, we say a subject is clear when that particular subject cannot bring other questions. Like when I say a nice song is sung by Anita every day, you will not ask which Anita. But if I say when I say a nice song is sung by him, you don't know who he is. So he as a subject is not a clear doer. So there's no need for you to include it there. So we have some unclear doers that you don't need to add. They include, we have words like people, we have people, words like he, she, they. So these are unclear doers. By them, by him, by her. So those ones are unclear doers. You don't need to include them in your sentences, more so in the passive voice sentence. I am going to say the same thing, but this time around, I am going to remove Anita. Maybe we bring the pronoun that stands for Anita, and that is she. So if I come up with a sentence in the active voice like this, she sings a nice song every day, what would be your sentence in the passive voice? Because we are changing from active to passive. So your answer would be, a nice song is sung every day. Why that? Because the subject, she, is not clear. It is not a clear doer. It's not a clear performer. So we only include the subject if it is clear. Like Anita is a clear subject. She is not a clear subject. Hope you have understood that. Good. Good. We are going to move forward to bring one important thing that you don't need to forget. Not all the verbs can take objects. Some verbs say no, the objects, and such verbs are known as intransitive verbs. So intransitive verbs can't be changed to passive because they don't take objects. So those verbs that take objects are the ones that can be used in the active and the passive voice. So for us to come up with a sentence in the active voice that can be changed from active voice to passive voice and vice versa, we need to use the kind of the verb that we call a transitive verb. So a transitive verb is that action word that can be changed to passive. Why? Because it takes an object. For example, the verb sing takes an object, the verb eat takes an object, and some other verbs like kick, write, cook, etc., etc. Then intransitive verbs like dance. Let me use the word dance in a sentence. He dances very well. So what is our subject? What is our object there? There's no object. He is our subject. Dance is our action. Then there's no object. So we have used the verb dance intransitively. Intransitively. That means without an object. So keep that at the back of your mind. Hope you've understood this, and please continue taking care. Take care. COVID is real, and you see what I am doing here. Bye. Meet you next time. Thanks very much.